Hey guys, Steve Reed here with SAPT, and this is episode 1 of a series of sprint training virtual short seminars, so to speak, that we thought we'd start up for many of you that we're sure this will be pretty interesting too. A number of our college baseball guys who've chosen to spend their off season with us this summer, we've been taking them out to a turf field every Tuesday, Thursday, just to have them perform drills to improve their movement capacity in the frontal and transverse planes to augment their potential to harness and produce power in a rotational context like the sport of baseball, but then also working on their sagittal or straight front to back movement capacity to help them, with when you think of things like traditional sprint work. So today we're going to highlight the falling start. It's a very popular, movement to improve the acceleration phase of a sprint, work on forward lean, and good sprint mechanics. So that was Kent here demonstrating it, and so we're just going to look at a few of the common errors people make and then provide some tips on how to fix them. So this is Kent Blackstone here, and he just had an awesome freshman season at New Mexico State University playing baseball. He was starting second base for a while, and then he was actually moved up to starting shortstop toward the end of the season there. And he also had 10 stolen bases his first year, so not too shabby at all, and so he's looking to improve upon that even further next year and make it more betterist. Not just more better, but more betterist. So here, let's go ahead and just watch him do it one more time so you get a feel of what we're looking at. And so all you have the athlete do is just generate some momentum via forward lean, and then they're going to explode right out into a sprint. I will notice that pretty much all the sprint drills we've been doing with the guys, at least for the first couple weeks of their sprint training, has been 15 yards, but even more so 10 yards and below, just to reduce the risk of a pulled hamstring, hip flexor, or groin muscle, that you often see when people reach the peak acceleration phase of a sprint. Especially when they're easing back into a sprint training program. These guys are all resistance training 3 to 4 times a week with us, and they're also playing on their summer baseball league. So, just something we recommend is keep the distances short so that you minimize fatigue, especially when you're trying to improve technique in sprinting, which is very CNS intensive, and then also just to reduce the risk of any injuries happening. So, let's go ahead and look at Kent as he goes into this. And one of the first things I want to point out is he does a pretty good job keeping his body in a straight line as he initiates the fall. You'll see a lot of people just kind of, pitch forward at their chest because they don't want to keep their body stiff as a board during that initial fall. But then as he moves into it, I just want to point out something. This is something you see, a ton of people do. And it's one of the main things we've been trying to admonish Kent with, and that's the ability to differentiate or discern between a first step and a first push. So you'll very frequently hear, parents or coaches talking about improving an athlete's first step or making sure the athlete has quick feet. The reality is quick feet don't really do anything for you if you're not actually covering a lot of ground in a short period of time. So, if you're having a lot of turnover, your feet are moving really quickly, but there's no actual real velocity achieved, then it doesn't do much for you. And so you can see Kent, if you watch it again, it looks like he has pretty quick feet off that initial start, but he doesn't have a very powerful first push. So he's not really generating a lot of force, into the ground that way to get that nice ground action reaction force to propel him this way. So one of the things to get him to generate more ground reaction force, especially in something like a falling start, where you have to generate all the momentum yourself from a standstill. And this is a great cue Goose gave, and it's instead of thinking about just stepping out, kind of like Kent here is doing, just a small step forward, is to pretend like your mortal enemy is standing about 5 feet in front of you, and you're trying to knee him in the nuts aggressively as you explode out of that line. So apparently I have my anatomy a little wrong there, but hopefully you get what I mean. So just real aggressive knee drive out. You can see here, Kent really isn't reaching out, very far, with that knee at all. It's more, again, of just a small step forward with that left foot. 2, you'll see Kent is compensating for a lack of a strong leg drive and getting his glutes and hamstrings involved. You'll see he's compensating for that here just by pitching forward at the hips. So if you look at, if you draw a line from the back of his body through his hips and then down to his foot, you'll see that his back leg is actually flexed. So he's not getting anywhere close to full hip extension to really recruit those glutes and hamstrings in the back leg, and he's just kind of falling forward into that knee. You'll see he's also reaching forward with his head. If you look at the gap between the back of his head and that line right there, he's going to pretty aggressive forward head posture, almost to try and get him to fall forward. So again, strong push off that back leg, strong knee drive for any Street Fighter fans in the crowd. That could be equivalent to a tiger knee, if you will, and just to get that nice, real strong, powerful first start. So let's go ahead and look at him after we coached him on this a little bit and see the difference. Okay, so now down here we have the after, so to speak. So let's go ahead and bring him in both screens up to the apex of that knee drive. So boom, you can see just the crazy awesome difference there. Here where he's at the top, where he's just flexing forward at the hip to compensate for lack of hip extension in that back leg, and he's bent down there. He has a much straighter line, going from his back through his hips and down to his foot right there, really pushing strong into the ground behind him, getting a nice strong knee drive up there. I'd accidentally erased the footage of the one he did after this one, where you can see he's kind of going forward with that left arm a little bit, and then he cleared that up in the last one he did. But yeah, much more powerful first push. He is overstriding a little bit, with that front foot. I think just as he attempted to really get that knee out there, his foot came forward with it. So ideally, we'd like him to be a little bit more underneath of him, just so he's not reaching out too far. But still, huge difference. He's not falling forward in that forward head posture like he's doing in the original. He's just a lot more springy and explosive in this iteration down here. So awesome job. In the second one, we also just had him keep about 85% intensity once he actually hit the ground running. But yeah, just we can compare the two. Here's what we get in the first one, and here's what we get in the second one. So then when you bring him back to here, full screen. Yeah, very good. So again, really last main thing to improve here is just, having a much more strong arm swing, a little bit out more this way, and then not letting that left arm be forward. So just driving that elbow back a little bit, try not to overstride here, and then should be good to go. So then when you bring him back to here, full screen. Yeah, very good. So again, really last main thing to improve here is just, having a much more strong arm swing, a little bit out more this way, and then not letting that left arm be forward. So just driving that elbow back a little bit, try not to overstride here, and then should be good to go.